God is speaking to us today as a people. God has a plan for us. God's plan is the best plan for us, for you, for all of us, to give us an expected end. He says, my thoughts towards you are not of evil, but are of peace. But we must search after the Lord with all our hearts with much praise. In Isaiah chapter 43, I have come today to encourage you. When thou passest through the waters, come now church, God says, I will be with thee. And through the river, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned. God is going to protect you. Has God shown this before? Yes, sir. When the Israelites passed through the waters, God was with them. When they came at the Jordan to cross over into Canaan, to cross the river Jordan into Canaan, that was flooding its bank, it did not overflow them. And when thou walkest through the fire, do we have proof of this? Ananiah, Mishael, Azariah, it did not burn them, neither shall the flame kindle upon them. This is the same God we serve today. This is God who is speaking to us. He has an expected end towards us, not of evil are his thoughts towards us, but of good. Verse 19 of Isaiah 43, behold, God says, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? Question sign. I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Behold, God says, I will do a new thing. It shall spring forth. God, only God can do that, to make rivers in the desert and a way in the wilderness. Are you worried? Time is winding down. This is the God I serve. He will make a way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. The God I serve is encouraging you today. My Abba Father. You see God's plan? It is the best plan. I want to encourage you. Stay focused. Come on. Get in focus. Get it together. Church, we ought not to be discouraged. Now is not the time. We must stay focused. Remain focused. Stick to God's plan. I've come today to encourage you. This is mid-week power. Are you refocused? Are you energized? Are you encouraged? Want more text? Want Bible for your feet? Let's go. Isaiah chapter 55. We're taking it from verse 8. Here's what it says. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways, saith the Lord. Come now, verse 9 says, for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts, God's thoughts, than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater. This is God. Verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. This is God. Is Jesus coming again? Yes, he is. His coming is imminent. Yes, it is. Am I discouraged? I cannot be. No time to be. For any man who look back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. This is a day to rejoice and be glad in him. For God is making a way for his people. Listen, worry is blind. It cannot discern the future. We don't know the thoughts of God. We don't know how God will work. But we know that he will work in favor for his people. We are as the apple of his eye. We need to pray the prayer in Psalms 50. We need to pray that prayer, church. God will deliver, has delivered, has proven himself, doesn't need to prove himself, but we need faith. Revelation chapter 14 verse 12. The faith of Jesus. What is that, Pastor? He said out of his own lips, the birds have nests, foxes of old. But the Son of Man, the Son of Man, I have nowhere to lay my head. Yet still he was hungry. Yet still he ate. He says in Matthew chapter 6, don't you see that I feed the birds? Don't you see that I pretty up the lily? I will do it for you. No time to be discouraged. No time to look back. All that can be shaken are being shaken. Psalms 50. And we're reading from verse 10 down. And here's what the Bible says. Psalms 50. For every beast of the forest is mine. This is God speaking here. And the cattle upon 1,000 hills, they are his. Verse 11. I know all the fowls of the mountains and the wild beasts of the field. What does God say? They are mine. Verse 12 says, if I were hungry, I would not tell thee, for the world is mine and the fullness thereof. Is this your father? Is God your Abba Father? The hour is late. This ought to be your prayer. Psalm 17. We read from verses 7 down to verse 9. The Bible says, show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. Keep me, our prayer today, as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings, from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. This ought to be our prayer. Keep me, verse 8, Psalm 17, as the apple of thy or of the eye. Verse 9, from the wickedness or the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. It says, by working upon the jealousy of the kings and the ruling classes, Rome had influenced them to keep the people in bondage. Who did this? Rome influenced them to keep the people in bondage. It says, well knowing that the state would thus be weakened, and purposing by this means to fasten both rulers and people in her thrall, with far-sighted policy, she perceived that in order to enslave men effectually, the shackles must be bound upon their souls. What evil? There was little confidence existing between the people and the rulers, as is today. Suspicion fastened upon all the measures of the government as designing and selfish, with a depraved and cruel aristocracy and an impoverished and ignorant lower class, the state financially embarrassed and the people exasperated. It needed no prophet's eye to foresee a terrible impending outbreak. The only person who will benefit from slavery, the people being in bondage, the rich oppressing the poor, is Rome. This is a time in which we're living. This will be the conditions in the cities and the towns. They will be coming again to kill God's people. Take away your houses and your land, prevent you from buying and selling, and that's why God's plan is the best plan. Do not yield to temptation. Let us be wise unto salvation. God bless you. Remain focused. Jesus is coming again. Maranatha.